Hello and welcome to Salon Secrets, the podcast for hair and beauty professionals, brought to you by Salon Services. In each episode, we're talking to industry experts and some of the leading names in hair and beauty, covering everything from boosting your business through to caring for your health and well-being. I'm your host, Lou Sherlock, and in this episode, we're focusing on mental health. Joining me is Tom Chapman, founder of the Lions Barber Collective. This is a global collection of top barbers who've joined together to help educate and raise awareness about mental health and suicide prevention. The figures are stark. One person dies every 40 seconds from suicide, and it's the biggest killer of men under 45 in the UK. Tom's mission is to educate barbers to recognise the signs of mental health problems in their clients. He's also highlighting the role barbers and hairdressers can play in suicide prevention. Tom, thank you for joining me today. You did a really powerful TEDx talk and you described the work you're doing as preventing suicide one haircut at a time. Can you tell us about the Lions Barber Collective and your friend Alex, who inspired you to set up the charity?
Firstly, thank you for having me here today. Okay. Yeah, of course I can. I think the Lions Barber Collective was founded in 2015, and it was a year after I lost my friend Alex to suicide. We lost him. He was very young, 27. No one was aware. I'd seen him days before. I'd had general chit-chat with him in the street, small talk, and I hadn't recognised that anything was wrong with him. And I can remember being at his funeral, and I was one of the first people to not have a seat because there were so many people there. I was sort of ushered towards the front. I was actually stood next to him in his coffin, and looking back at that huge crowd, that room that was packed out. And even then, there were still people still trying to get in that couldn't get in. And it was a really weird perspective to have at a funeral, because normally you look at the back of people's heads and you'll watch whoever's giving the sermon or the presentations or the speaking. But actually, I was stood there with him, looking back at all those faces and all the love and the loss and the hurt, and I think that really was probably a defining moment, which made me think we need to do something. How can someone feel so alone when they have all this love around them? And I think that was the real defining moment when I really needed to do something. But it took a year, and it sort of manifested itself in the form of a one-off project. I collected about 30 barbers together to create a lookbook, and everyone donate an image and try and raise money for charity. And I didn't know what charity to raise money for. I was asking for suggestions, and there's a lot of male cancer charities suggested, and although very worthy, I felt that I knew all about them, and I wanted something that was fresh and new, that perhaps needed more awareness and needed more funds. And one of the guys from Ireland, Paul Mack, suggested suicide prevention, and that just, I hit the nail on the head. And I just thought, how can I have not even realised that is something I can raise money for or awareness for when I've been affected by it? So there must be loads of people out there that are struggling alone or been affected and don't know where to turn. So that's when the Lions Barber Collective was formed. It became a charity in 2017, very late 2017. And since then, we've gone with a vision of a world free from suicide. And our mission is to create non-clinical, non-judgmental, safe spaces where people feel comfortable to talk about their mental health and be able to signpost them to the support and information that can help. We do that through two main things. One of them is awareness, and we do that through like pop-ups and public speaking, interviews like this. And the other one is Barber Talk, which is a form of mental health training that I developed alongside lead psychiatrists and people within public health that have helped me along the way develop this and oversee it, so that we can train barbers and hairdressers to recognise the signs, ask the right questions, listen, and finally give them the knowledge to signpost and to the information that's out there, rather than trying to make them into psychiatrists or counsellors. It's about bridging that gap.
So you've talked about the Barber Talk training. So what specifically does that entail?
Yeah, so we've got 3 different versions now. We've got Barber Talk Lite, which is like an entry level, which is available online, free on the Lions Barber Collective website for anybody to do and complete that. It'll take you 15 to 20 minutes. It'll go through the 4 pillars of recognise, ask, listen and help. And once you complete that, you go on a Lions map, and we've had people complete that as far away as Kenya, Hawaii, Australia, all across the world, which has been incredible. And then we wanted to be able to provide something that's available to everybody at no cost. So that's that first entry level. And then we have Barber Talk Online, which we've just developed alongside the NHS. The NHS and us partnered up alongside Health Education England as well, to redevelop and deliver Barber Talk Online to the hairdressers and barbers that wanted to take part before we came back to work on the 4th of July, to help prepare some of our industry for the conversations we're going to be having. And I think everybody who's gone back to work post 4th of July, or whenever it was where you're located, has had the conversation or the questions. How was lockdown for you? How was coronavirus for you? And not everybody's had a great time. I'm sure a lot of people have, but it's just preparing people for that conversation. And because of our next level, the Barber Talk Live, where we go and we deliver our 4 pillars in a live traditional facilitation. We also throw in a barbering hair demo as well. We've been unable to do that because of social distancing. But the 4 pillars are recognize. So we train people to recognize the signs in their clients. What signs may suggest that something is going wrong, something isn't quite right with them, they're struggling with something. Everything from having a bad day to having a moment of crisis. And then the next pillar is ask, and we train those hair professionals to be able to ask the right questions, the direct questions that we often avoid, questions that we're scared of asking because we're scared of the answers. So the questions like, how are you feeling today, rather than, you all right, mate, how's it going? Because those questions are more of a greeting. They're not giving anyone permission to say anything. They're just sort of like a hello. So asking those questions, and even as much as, are you suicidal and do you have a plan? Those questions are life-saving. I think they're really important that we give people the confidence to ask them. Then once we've asked the questions, listen with empathy, without judgment. We do a lot of listening exercises with them, which is really good fun and a bit of an eye-opener, because I think we all believe we're good listeners, and actually we could all do a lot better, everyone, myself included. Although saying that, the hair industry is a fantastic industry at listening, because we have to listen and get the haircut right, or the hair color right. If we don't listen to a consultation, we're not going to do very well in the end. But then finally, the last one is help to help. So that is about building up a directory with our learners, so that they have a safety net in their salon. And that safety net gives them the confidence to ask the questions and listen, because they have a list of resources. Should someone have a moment of crisis on a wet Wednesday afternoon in Weymouth, you're the last person in the shop, everyone else has left, you're doing your last client, and they have a moment of crisis and breakdown, you feel comfortable asking them the questions, comfortable listening to them, because you have the knowledge and confidence that you have a list of places you can send people. So it's not, if you're not left holding the ball, we're bridging that gap between the communities we serve and the resources that are available already.
Fantastic. And you've talked, I've listened to some of your talks as well, you're talking about barbers and hairdressers being professional listeners, which I guess applies to the hair and beauty industry as a whole. So can you tell us a bit more about that unique relationship with the clients, and the role it can play in that suicide prevention?
Yeah, of course. I think we are professional listeners. I read a study that said that we listen for over 2,000 hours a year.
Oh wow!
It's an incredible amount of listening we do, and I think the hair industry, hair and beauty industry, is seen as it's classed as a low skilled job, which is ridiculous anyway. It's seen as something you do if you can't do anything else, if you're not academic, if you're not, it's very disappointing, because people often say, "Oh, I'm just a hairdresser, I'm just a barber." But we're actually doing a very high-skilled job, learning, high precision jobs with technical, with colours and techniques that a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people have found out over coronavirus lockdown, cutting their own hair. It's not as easy as it looks. No. But whilst doing that, we also have tact, we have empathy, we can listen, we have human contact, the license to touch. We have the art of conversation, which is getting lost. And I think that people undervalue those skills in themselves. And listening is such a key skill that a lot of people could learn from the hair industry. Like I said a minute ago, you have to listen to your clients in a consultation. If we don't listen to somebody and someone says, "Oh, I want they say I want a number 2 on the side, or I want it short, and you go, okay, cool, I'll do it short. And your short is a grade 0, their short is a grade 3. You haven't listened to them, you haven't asked them the questions. These things that we're training through Barber Talk are things that the hair industry do already. And helping them realize and gain that confidence to do them and have the permission to do them, and realizing the influence and power that they have on. I mean, I bet everybody listening to this who cuts hair or does beauty therapy in any shape or form has helped a client of theirs without even realizing it.
Yeah. And so you just mentioned beauty there as well. So are you kind of hopeful that your training and the charity can widen out and cover the industry as a whole?
Most definitely. Yes, most definitely. I mean, the reason why I started off in barbering is because that was the area that I was most recognized in the industry. But I see the hair and beauty industry is so important to our nation. It makes us feel good physically, but it also makes us feel good mentally. And they have such an amazing platform. And the network that we have is incredible. There's no stigma or taboo about going to get your eyelashes done, or going to get a wet shave, or going to get a haircut or colour. But if you were going to see a psychiatrist, there would be a lot of anxieties around that anyway already. Are they going to prescribe me for something? Are they going to diagnose me? Are they going to sign me off work? Am I going to be able to see my children? Am I going to be sectioned? All these kinds of things. Am I going to be labelled with something? We don't have that with the hairdressers and barbers. And we're on every single high street. Whether you go to the smallest hamlets or villages to the biggest cities, it's accessible to everybody and every kind of financial level as well. You can go to a hairdresser and a barber, and I think it's really important that we train the entire industry. Eventually, I'd love to get it into the curriculum, because we learn about all these skin diseases and psoriasis and head lice and all these kinds of things in the hair industry and beauty industry. Why are we not learning about mental health? We deal with that every day. And I think, we want to develop it further. I mean, I was speaking with my auntie, used to be head of education for Europe for Aveda, and I sort of grew up when I was a bit younger, spending a lot of time down at the Covent Garden Academy. And she was a good facilitator, and she actually came on my course the other day, which was a little bit nerve-wracking for me, looking up to her for a long time. But she spoke to me on the phone and said, look, we need to get this into the beauty industry straight away. Have you thought about this? And I said, look, this is something that I've definitely thought about. And I think if they want to do it, we want to grow it. We want to train everybody. I think anyone that has that license to touch, the human connection level of trust that we have can help save lives.
Exactly. And you mentioned earlier coronavirus and the lockdown, which obviously has had a massive impact on everyone. So in terms of hair and beauty professionals going back to work, can your training help them look at their own mental health as well and sort of flag up if they are struggling?
Most definitely. I think one of the reasons why we wanted to get this out, Barber Talk Online out, we rushed to get it out. We worked really hard over the last few weeks to get it out to some people, is because I think the hair and beauty industry has spent a lot of time worrying and discussing online about PPE. What PPE do we need? What do we need to keep our clients happy? How can we fit all our clients in? I'm going to work from 12 till 12, every 12-hour days, 6 days a week, to make sure I get my clients in. And we are very giving, and we care about our clients a lot. And I think one of the things that we wanted to make sure is, what about yourself? Is it sustainable? Remember, you haven't cut hair for 15 weeks or however long it's been. You haven't stood on your feet all day. It's a difficult job as it is. Stand on your feet all day, highly precision work, talking, conversing, making sure you get everything right, and you haven't done it for a long time. And I think a lot of people may suffer from burnout. And one of the things we teach at the end of the Bible training is the five steps to mental well-being. How do you look after yourself? You can't pour from an empty cup. These clients can wait. They can wait. They've waited 15 weeks. They will wait for you because they have that trust and bond with us. Don't overburn yourself out over a haircut. And a lot of people are working twice as many hours for half as many clients, charging the same money, and all because we don't want to upset the people we serve, our clients. I think I think we need to start looking after ourselves as an industry and start valuing ourselves a little bit more, whether that be our mental health, physical health, obviously adapting to where we are in the PPE, post-COVID PPE world, making sure we are valuing ourselves, our time, charging people for what we cost. There wouldn't be any other industry that would do that. I can't see any other industry that would just absorb the extra costs because they don't want to upset their clientele. But it says a lot about the trust and relationships we have with our clientele. They're not just customers. They're a lot more than that.
And in terms of the reaction from barbers and hairdressers to the Lions Barber Collective, has it been kind of a sudden thing, or has it been growing over the years? And have you seen a spike during lockdown where people are like, actually, this is something we really need to focus on?
Yeah, it's been organic growth. It was meant to be a one-off project. It kind of grew very quickly. We've had a lot of interest, and I think the fact that it is almost so obvious, it was hidden in plain sight. We've been joked about, as the hair industry's been joked about being psychiatrists, therapists for forever, long before. It was one of the first things my manager said to me when I started at Tony and Guy when I was 18. My first day on the job said, "Be prepared to be a psychiatrist now on."
Really?
And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm just here to cut hair and social job and the fashion side of things." But he was so right. We are doing these things anyway. But then as it's grown, I think over the coronavirus lockdown time, our Barber Talk Online training session tripled the amount of people that have
Really?
done it. So we've
Gosh.
had a real big influx of people wanting to do this online training. And I think, like you said, people are starting to realize, and I think it's a combination of everything. It's us growing as a charity, us moving forward, having more awareness, having more connections, more media, lets more people know. And I think from our point of view, we need to get the whole industry trained. I mean, I'd love to get into the colleges, and we have spoke about this, and I've been doing a bit locally, but get it into the curriculum, because that's at the moment when you're I mean, right now everyone's so busy they can't afford to take a day off to do training. But if we can get into the curriculum and they spend 4 hours doing our training, that's half a day for them at college. Then in 10, 20, 30 years time, the entire industry is trained. And think how many opportunities each week or each day you're going to be giving to people
Yeah.
as a safe space for them to open up and talk about their issues and just be listened to. And the preventative of suicide, preventative of mental health, of those conversations is massive,
Yeah.
huge. I mean, for and emotional loss, but also financial loss for the economy. I don't know if you know about this. It's something we found out whilst filming our documentary, that the economic burden of each death by suicide is calculated at £1.7 million,
Gosh. Yeah. And
which is something I'd never considered before.
no, and your documentary, I was going to talk to you about that. It's incredibly powerful. And you have people in the documentary who've been helped by barbers. Can you tell me a bit more about that? And what's that like when you meet people who you've helped and your training has helped? That must be really incredible.
It's absolutely phenomenal. I think when so Paul, who features in the film, for example, he was the first life that we saved, and the first thing that really, it was an idea, and then when that happened, it was it was just something that was like rectified to myself, that like, this is what I need to be doing. This is something clicked and go, right, actually this works. I've actually saved someone's life. I've lost a friend, and through doing what we're doing and just encouraging people to talk and go and find the right help, we've managed to save another person's life. And it's not only, I think when we did the film, it even made me realize it even more, because I met his parents for the first time and interviewed them and found out more about the people around him that it affected. Not just me not losing a friend, but all of our friends not losing a friend, his family not losing a friend. And although he is still on the journey and he's recovering, and he's in a much better place, if we had lost him, the amount of people that would have been affected by that is just incredible. And now recently we've had one of our prospects save someone's life last week. I had a
Wow.
message from somebody who had taken our Barber Talk online training to say, "Thank you so much for that, Tom. I took the online training, the Barber Talk Lite, sorry, and I saved someone's life because of it. I managed to ask them the question." So now it's got out there. It's not just me doing it; it's other people doing it, and that's the people that's only the people that we know, and we're saving people's lives. So it's just mind blowing, really. I think
Yeah,
that's what's made it become a purpose for me, a sense of purpose.
that's incredible. And obviously, you mentioned earlier, I mean, it's really hard to sit down with someone and ask those questions. And I mean, how would you do that? Is there a way of opening the conversation? If someone's listening to this and they're like, I want to have those conversations, is there a way to
Yeah.
start?
Yeah, I think the thing is obviously recognizing that there's something that isn't quite right. And that can be literally, it boils down to any real change in a normal behavior. And because we know our clients well. We see our clients every 2, 4, 6 weeks, how many, regularly, far more regularly than they see their GP, if they even see the same GP. So we're in a great position where we have that little bit of distance, enough to know who they are normally, but enough time in between visits to recognise if anything has gone wrong or anything is different. And that could be anything from gaining too much weight, losing a lot of weight, sleeping too much, not enough. Body language, they may be quite slumped normally, and then they come in, they're very sort of erratic and kind of fidgety, or vice versa. And it's about recognizing that change in them. And then once you do recognize that something is not there, and we're pretty good at that. If someone comes in and shakes your hand and says hello and starts talking about whatever it may be, they always talk about it because they love it, X Factor or football or whatever it is. And then the next time they come in, they don't shake your hand, they don't really say much, and they sit in the chair. Something's happened. And it's just about, instead of asking that question, I think the first question is, once you've done your consultation, you've asked them how they are, but actually asking them the second question, how are you feeling today? And using their name, making it personal to them. That feels a lot more like you're giving permission. You want to listen to them. And it can be something, really, really bad. It can be, it can go down to, I don't want to live anymore. But that's a very, very rarity. It may more often than not be they're frantic and they come in and they go, oh my God, my kid's sick and I've wanted my hair done, so I've been trying to call my mum to look after him, and then I was late and I couldn't find anywhere to park. And it might just be that. But even then, you're still giving them a platform to vent, and it soothes them and it calms them down. And by the end of that session, you've calmed them down. They've had a lovely haircut or colour. They feel fantastic, and they walk out on cloud nine. And it can be anything from that. It could be, we all have issues. It's about the human condition. It's not about mental health conditions. Human condition. We all need to love and be loved. We all need to belong. We all have bad days. And giving people that ability to be able to talk by asking them the questions like, "How are you feeling today?" That is a really simple question, but can you agree it's much more effective than, "You're right, mate. How's it going?"
And that's a real skill, though, isn't it? To ask those open-ended questions rather than the shorter questions that people can just give a yes and no to, and then just listen to their music or do whatever they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, asking that, "How are you feeling today?" and then giving them that ability. And listening is so important. We feel like we have to solve people's problems or we have to fix things. We always want to look for a solution, and we spend our time listening to that person until we can recognize or relate to something they've just said, and then we've experienced, and then we offer them a solution depending on what we've experienced. But unfortunately, everyone's individual. We all experience the same situation differently. And I don't know if anybody listening to this yourself, if you've ever tried to tell someone something. I mean, you can think about having a broken heart when you're a teenager and you're telling your mate about it, and they say, "I know how you feel," or "I understand because and that doesn't, I mean, I don't know how that makes you feel, but I don't think that's ever helped anyone. We're trying to solve problems. We're trying to show empathy. But actually, has anyone ever said that to you when you're opening your heart to them? "I know how you feel."
Yeah.
It doesn't really help. And I think the things we need to say is, "I don't know how you feel. I don't understand, but I'm willing to listen to you and not judge you, and let you explain to me so I can hopefully try to understand as much as possible." And giving people that time to talk, not being scared of silences, because they're often trying just to word these things. They're often trying to think about how they're going to say it.
And in the your documentary, the £1.7 million haircut, you made a really powerful statement at the start, and you were saying, "I want to help those people who take a permanent solution to a temporary problem." So can you tell us about that? And then also, what's your ultimate aim for the Lions Barber Collective?
Well, the permanent solution to a temporary problem thing is more about, we can get through these things. It can get better. And if you take that route of suicide and end your life, how will you ever know if you can get better? How will you know things can improve? I think the people that I know, everybody that I've spoken to who's survived, and I've spoken to quite a few people now, because of what I do and who I surround myself with, but they have all told me that they're happy they're still alive. And the official statistic is 8 out of 10 survivors are glad they didn't die. which is when you talk about the amount of people, when suicide's being the biggest killer in young people under 45s and nearly 80% of them are men, then that's a lot of people who died that may not have wanted to, really, just wanted to avoid the situation they were in and needed some help. And with the Lions Barber Collective, I wanted to keep going past me. I want to get to a point where, we are a small charity. We don't have any staff as such. It's a very small team of us and some volunteers, and the ambassadors and prospects are all absolutely amazing and help us to grow. But I want it to become a stage where Tom Chapman's not here anymore, and the Lions Barber Collective is still doing things. It's still saving lives. It's still training people. The training's in the curriculum. We are, raising awareness and doing stuff without me being here. That's the big goal, because I'm not going to be around forever. But I think mental health and these opportunities need to be available to everyone.
And for anyone listening to this who is thinking, I really want to get involved, what can they do? What's the first step if they wanted to volunteer or do the training? What's the next steps for them?
So the best thing you can do is go over to the Lions Barber Collective website. You can do the Barber Talk Lite, which will take you 15-20 minutes. You can go and do that. That's the very first step. And then there's fundraising packs on there. You can get in contact with us if you wanted to be so we call our volunteers the prospects, because then they come on board, they become a prospect. They do things like come to the training sessions and help out. So, we had lots of, for example, pop-up barbershop. We're due to do one in Cardiff football ground in the stadium before the football match starts, and cut hair and on the PA and do things like that. Travel around, do stuff with us, supporting us, and then you can become an ambassador once you sort of work your way up. And there's all sorts of things you can do with us. We're doing so much now, more and more and more and more. And to grow, we need more feet on the ground. We need more ambassadors. We need more prospects. We need more people trained. And at the very least, you can go and do the Barber Talk Lite training, and just be ready to provide a kind ear for those clients and colleagues.
And it sounds, as you're describing what you're doing, it sounds really a lot of work, and you're very dedicated to what you're doing. So how are you making sure that you kind of look after yourself as well? Because it must be really emotional hearing from people who've been impacted or people whose lives you've saved. That must be quite very emotional.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's very much peaks and troughs, and I think there's a lot of difficult moments when we're not sure whether the charity's going to be able to afford to keep going because of funding, and then moments when you get a message saying that you helped save a life, and it doesn't get much bigger than that. So, I do have a good support group. I've got the lead ambassadors, which I speak to regularly. I've got some volunteers around me. I've got my wife. I've got my family. We've got online sort of safe space group chats that we have. So for everyone who completes the Barber Talk online training, they get access to our Lions Den safe space, which is a Facebook group. And it's not to talk about hair. It's not to talk about new sets of clippers or tools, or it's just a space for us to be safe and try and build up a network within the industry, really, so we can all just support one another.
Amazing. And you're also, is it the what's it called, the Man Shed with Ramesh Ranganathan? What's that you've been doing as well?
Yeah, so the Mind Shed is
Mind Shed,
Mind
sorry.
Shed is,
Not
Mind
the
Shed. No, it's all right. It's fine. Close enough. The Mind Shed is something that came about. I did some public speaking at an event in London at the Barbican Theatre, and it was a big event involved by Sunday Times and Penguin Books. It was lots of authors doing talks, and I did a live podcast, and then I got an invite to go and do a men's mental health panel on the sort of theatre stage with Ramesh and a couple of other people, and we discussed how good it was, and just blokes talking about stuff, and why is there nothing like this on television? I like Loose Women, but for men, really, I suppose, is the sort of concept, really. And I mentioned it to a production company that I know, and they loved the idea, and it's sort of grown from there. And I went to Ramesh and said, "Would you like to be part of it?" He was up for it, and it was him and a guy called Anthony Crank, who works in theatre and acting, and a psychiatrist called Dr. Peter Aitken, and we just teamed up and had these conversations. And it's been on YouTube, the first 2 episodes. The Zero Suicide Alliance have been interested in it, and so we're going to be doing some more episodes of it. and just seeing where that takes it. But now I'm really looking forward to being able to get out and go and do it rather than just doing it via Zoom. So it'll be nice next time we do it. I think we're going to have a studio setting and make a little bit more of it, which is going to be fun.
Amazing. And just for anyone who's listening to this, who might be on their journey to work, just on their way to see clients, what's your kind of one bit of advice for them if they haven't ever had these conversations with their clients? Have you got anything they can think about?
Yeah, I'd say just don't be scared to ask. Don't be scared to ask clients those questions. You're not meant to fix it. You're not a therapist. You're not there to solve the problems. You're just there. If you listen to them, just ask them the problem. How are you feeling today? Ask them that question. Give them that permission to talk to you and listen. Don't try and jump in. Don't try and solve the problems. Listen, let them talk about it. A lot of the time, people solve their own problems. People don't like being told what to do anyway. I don't suppose anyone listening to this likes being told what to do. But if you just listen to them, people will solve their own problems. We all know what we need to do to make our lives better normally. And if you need that little bit of confidence of where to signpost people, I would say check out hubofhope.co.uk. That is an amazing directory. You put your postcode in and it geographically lists all the resources closest to you at the top that are available. So if you talk to somebody and they tell you something about maybe gambling addictions or alcoholism or domestic violence, go hubofhope.co.uk, put that in. It will give you a list of resources that you can signpost them to. And if all else fails, you don't know what to do and you're panicking, if someone's in a moment of crisis and they ever tell you they want to die, they want to kill themselves, you can call an ambulance. You can call 999 and get an ambulance there. There are mental health teams at the hospital. But more often than not, it'll be they're running late, they couldn't find a place to park, they're stressed out with work, the kids are doing wedding, whatever, I don't know. It's normally stuff like that.
Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you for listening to our Salon Secrets podcast with music by audionautics.com. If you'd like to find out more about Tom's work, go online at the Lions Barber Collective.com. Thanks again and tune in next time.